Hi everybody, it's Clive from Suzuki Bramley. Today we're going to discuss my favorite subject, and that is how to buy the ideal used car. In fact, what I want you to do is find that loved car. I've broken this process down into steps because buying a car is more than just driving it. It's giving some thought as to what it would cost you to run it, and giving it some thought as to who would buy it when you want to sell your loved car. So the first thing I would do is check the pedigree of the motor car. So when we talk about pedigree, the first thing I want you to do is try and understand how many people have owned the car. The first prize is to buy a car that was owned by one owner. Very often you can then determine whether the mileage is correct, whether the car's been in an accident, and generally people that have owned a car first have taken more care of it. It's been serviced, it's been looked after. The next thing you want to find out is how was the car used. Very, very important. If a car was used to go to work and back every day, it's got a lot more wear and tear on it than a car that was used to travel long distances. You also want to make sure you're not paying a car that was driven by a ton of drivers. Car rental cars specifically suffer from this. Too many people drive them, they don't care about them, and very often you end up with a car that's got far more wear and tear from people who didn't care about how it was used. Another thing to check in pedigree is service history. You want to be able to make sure the car you're buying was serviced properly, and if it still has some warranty left on it, that warranty is still in place because the car was serviced properly. And finally, you want to know where the car was bought. So if it's not a first owner car, the chances are it was bought from either a used car dealer or from the agents. But what's the worst nightmare you can have? The car was bought from an auction sale. Most cars sold on auction sales are cars that no dealer wants their reputation or name on. So if you buy from auction, the saying is buyer beware, because auction cars tend to be a number of owners and tend to have issues. So that's it in pedigree. Worry about who owned it, what they used it for, where they bought it, and whether they looked after it. You don't want to be near the car until you understand exactly where the car came from, who used it. But there's one more thing in pedigree that's very, very important. You need to understand who is selling you the motor car. And do they have a good reputation? And do they have the wherewithal to back that car if something goes wrong? So before you look at a car, follow the points. Check the pedigree, do your homework, know what you want to spend, go and check the price of a new car before you buy that used car. Very often late model used cars are more expensive or almost the same price of the used car. So do your homework, check your pricing, and if you're buying on finance, to finance a car for a year longer, to buy a new car that will last 2 to 3 years longer, makes a hell of a lot of sense. So next time we'll be talking about the inspection and what you do when you now have a look at the motor car that you sure was loved.